All right, so hi. I'm going to show you the 5 problems that you said. So it says write the following expression as a single log. ln, remember, I just want to refresh your memory. This doesn't apply for this problem, but ln is the same thing as log with a base of e. Like I said, it doesn't apply because we have ln. I think you get the point. What you should have remembered is subtraction is the same thing as when you condense it, subtraction changes into division and addition changes into multiplication. So if you remember that, you should be in good shape. So we know we have the subtraction, which changes into division. So that has division, that has division, that has division. This does not, so it cannot be C. So I'm going to rewrite it like this. So it's going to be ln, and then you have x, and if you look at this right here is the exponent, so that gets kicked back right here. So the 1/3 goes as the exponent of the x. We just talked about subtraction is the same thing as division, so you're going to divide. And then right here, same thing. So the 2/3 gets kicked back, so it's going to be y to the 2/3 power. I'm going to rewrite this ln because it's the ln of all of it. So the ln is going to be basically like right in the middle, and the x to the 1/3 and the y to the 2/3 is going to be how it's going to be written. So what I want to do now is I want to find one of these that's going to be exactly the same thing as that. So I know that we went over this before at some point. So the 3 is the bottom number, so the roots are at the bottom, and the top number is our exponent. So our root is cube root, and our exponent is 1. And then on the denominator, similar, the root is cube root, and for the y, the exponent is 2. So I want to again find something that matches up with this. So these two right here have the cube root. As you see, cube root is the same thing in both. So this one right here is going to be out because the y doesn't have a cube root next to it. So that one's out as well. So again, we have to find the one that matches. So what we're noticing is happening is they're combining this into a big cube root, and x to the first stays on top and the y squared goes on the bottom, and I have to find the one that matches. This is x to the first, y to the first. That's incorrect because there's two y's. So the correct answer is D. All right, moving on. This one right here is very similar. So I have a subtraction. So again, I'm going to do a single log. So ln. I know I'm going to have a subtraction, which changes into division again. So I just put like a long division symbol. So what goes on top, right? So this right here goes on the top. So the x goes on the top, and the exponent is 1. There's no root, so it's very simple. This one right here is telling me that this whole thing is going to go on the bottom. So it's still going to be x, right? And this 3 gets kicked back. So it's going to be x to the 3rd power. And then addition, I know, changes into, we talked about that on the last slide. Addition changes into multiplication. So I'm going to do a times, and the 5 is going to get kicked back. That's going to be y to the 5th. But what I did is I ignored this for right now because I need to do what's inside the parentheses first. And then all of it gets a half exponent because, again, this gets kicked to the back of the whole thing. So it's like to the 1/2 exponent right there. And so now, again, I have to find one that matches. So this doesn't just have an x by itself at the top, so that one is out. This one has an x at the top, this one has an x at the top, this one has mad crap at the top. So again, I want to find between this and this one, which is the one that matches with this. So I notice over here, I have an ln. If I look over here, I have the x, and then everything's getting raised to the half power, right? So what we can do again is this is the root, that's the exponent, so it's going to be a square root of x to the 3rd and a square root of y to the 5th. And again, I have to find one that matches this right here. So if I look, oh, this one right here, right? So this one has square root of the x to the 3rd and y to the 5th. And so this right here is going to be our answer. This one is not correct because it doesn't have this in square root. So that's out. Okay. So this one right here, very similar. So I have the 3 gets kicked back. This is actually a way easier problem than the one we just did. So we have a single log. So this one is just log, not ln. Same thing. Subtraction is division. So what goes on top? The first one. So it's going to be x to the third. And then this one right here again gets kicked back. So it's going to be z to the squared. And if I look over here, the bases are the same, so that doesn't change. It's still going to be log base a. So again, I'm looking for one that is very similar. This does not have division in it, so that's out. This doesn't have division in it, so that's out. So it's between this and this. So x to the third goes on top, z squared goes on the bottom, so the correct answer is B. This one here is very similar, so I have a times, because addition changes into times. So I'm going to have a single log with the base of a. I'm going to have a times problem, and I'm also going to have a subtraction changes into division, so I'm going to have something divided by something else. Okay, so now I'm just going to rewrite it. Let's do this in parts. So the x gets a 2/3 exponent. This was a times symbol, so the 2 gets kicked back, so it's going to be y squared. And this one right here, the 2 gets kicked back, so it's going to be z squared divided by z squared. So now I need to find the one that's the same thing as this. So I know if I take a look at it, it looks like this is x to the 2/3 y squared times z squared. So that's going to be out, right? Because it's supposed to be divided by z squared. This one is assuming that it's everything is on the bottom. That's not true because it's times here and division there. So that's out. This one here is under the assumption that subtraction stays, but that's not true. That changes to division. So the only correct answer that makes sense is this one. And I could rewrite this as log base a of x to the 2/3 y squared. I don't need the little dot there, over z squared. Right? So I could put the z squared there. I could put it here. It's still the same thing. The correct answer is A for that one. And the last one, very similar. So I'm going to single log it. So 1 log. I know I have a subtraction symbol here, so that's going to change into division. So I'm going to have a division, and this whole thing again is going to go on the bottom. So let's just start with what we have first. So the 2 is going to be the exponent of the x plus 2. So it's going to be x plus 2 squared. I don't know why I keep ignoring that the base is a, but anyway, that's right there. So that's what goes on the top, and all of this, like I said, goes on the bottom. So I'm going to have on the bottom, I'm going to have, there's no number that gets kicked back here, so there's just going to be a plain old y. Addition changes into multiplication, so that's just going to be a plain old z. And all of this is getting the 1/2 exponent, so it's going to be to the 1/2 power. So I'm going to rewrite this as log with the base of a of x plus 2 squared divided by, so remember this is our root, so that's square root. So it's going to be the square root of, and both of these are going to go on the inside. So it's going to say a y and a z. So again, I have to find the one that matches. This one's out because the z's at the top. This one's out because there's no z at the bottom. This one's out because the z comes out of the square root. So this one by default has to be it. Let's just see if it matches, and it does exactly. Books! Enjoy! Enjoy!